books of the Bible, Galatians. So Part of God's Story is a book in the Bible called Galatians, and it goes like this. The Bible is made up of all kinds of stories, poems, and letters, and it's all about God. The Bible has two parts, the Old Testament and the New Testament. Galatians is in the New Testament, right after 2 Corinthians, but before Ephesians. Galatians is a really short book, because really it's a letter written by a man named Paul to a church, or a group of people who follow Jesus, in a place called Galatia. Even though it was written to the Galatians a long time ago, Paul's letter can still help us today. Jesus was Jewish, and the first followers of Jesus were mostly Jewish too. Some of them even thought the good news or gospel of Jesus was only for them. But the gospel of Jesus is for everyone, whether they follow Jewish laws or not. But the Galatian church was trying to make everyone follow Jewish laws, which Paul said was adding to the gospel, or even turning it into a different gospel. So Paul wrote them a letter to remind them that what matters most isn't where a person comes from, their culture, or their background. What matters most is their faith in Jesus. To Paul, what Jesus did on the cross was way more powerful than anything anyone could do for themselves. When we accept what Jesus did for us, Paul said it's like becoming adopted into God's family, or putting on new Jesus clothes. For you are all children of God through faith in Christ Jesus, and all who have been united with Christ in baptism have put on Christ, like putting on new clothes. There is no longer Jew or non-Jew, slave or free, male or female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. So even people who are very different can come together as one if they all believe in Jesus. Paul said when that happens, we become truly free. Freedom doesn't mean doing whatever you feel like. True freedom is being able to obey God's most important commandment. Use your freedom to serve one another in love. For the whole law can be summed up in this one command: love your neighbor as yourself. This means loving your Jewish neighbor and your Gentile neighbor, your friendly neighbor and your grumpy neighbor, your rich neighbor and your poor neighbor, and on and on and on. Paul said we should share each other's burdens. That means life might get difficult sometimes, because it's hard to share burdens like sadness, poverty, sickness, or shame. But Paul said not to give up, because loving our neighbors is like planting seeds in a garden. Let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up. Therefore, whenever we have the opportunity, we should do good to everyone, especially those in the family of faith. With God's help, these seeds can grow and grow and grow into true abundance and riches. Paul said it's like a garden full of fruit. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. There is no law against these things. So anytime a person who follows Jesus chooses to make peace, to be kind and patient and gentle, to obey God and practice self-control, that person is growing the fruit of the Spirit. In other words, if you have faith in Jesus, you put your belief into action when you love your neighbor. And that's a little about the letter to the Galatians. So in case you missed it, here's the quick version. Paul wrote Galatians. It's in the New Testament. Faith is more important than the law. We are one in Jesus. Real freedom is loving your neighbor. Sometimes your neighbor is different from you. Love them anyway. Sometimes it's hard to love your neighbor. Love them anyway. We can grow the fruit of the Spirit with our actions.
Thank you for watching. Bye. God bless.